Hello and welcome to the CUFI Weekly. I'm your host, Kasim Hafeez. Hello and welcome to another episode of the CUFI Weekly. And look, this week I'm going to touch on something I've talked about many times since October 7th. And that is that when Hamas and these terrorist groups show you who they are, proudly, we should believe them. Now, there's been a lot of talk in international media about this famine in Gaza, or the so-called famine. Since November of 2023, NGOs have been predicting a famine, and here we are in 2025, and that narrative is still around. Now, nobody is saying that there aren't issues with food scarcity in Gaza, that there aren't issues there. Nobody is saying that. And if you look at the mechanisms that have been put in place, even the United Nations admitted that over 80% of aid had been looted. Hamas eat well. Hamas take their food underground, allowing the people of Gaza to go hungry. Yet, of course, as narratives go, why would anybody hold Hamas accountable? They've not been doing it since October 7th. Why would they do it now? Instead, it's much easier to blame Israel. Blame Israel for what is going wrong in Gaza and get Hamas a completely free pass. But what I wanted to talk about in terms of taking them at their word when they show us who they are is in reference to some of the shocking images we saw from videos released showing Israeli hostages. Now, we can talk about hunger and famine, we can talk about starvation, and we can talk about all these things. But let me make something very clear. Since October 7th, when Israel was attacked, when its people were murdered, when its people were taken hostage into Gaza, Israel continued to ensure that there were mechanisms for aid to get into Gaza. While Israel was fighting a war against Hamas, started by Hamas, Israel was ensuring that aid was still going into Gaza, that food was reaching people in Gaza. It worked with NGOs to make sure there were resources available. It worked with organizations like the World Food Kitchen to ensure that there were bakeries were being provided with the resources so they could continue to supply food on the ground. There was Hamas in all of this. The so-called rulers of Gaza, they were hiding in tunnels, moving the hostages, and stealing aid. So since day one, Israel has tried to ensure that aid gets in to the most vulnerable people in Gaza. Hamas has done the absolute opposite, even telling people that they should not go collect aid. But it's Israel who's accused of starving Gazans. It's Israel who's accused of not providing X, Y, and Z to the people of Gaza. Israel continues to ensure every effort is made to ensure that aid is getting to the people of Gaza. There are issues with the delivery mechanisms. That is abundantly clear and has been abundantly clear since day one. The looting of trucks, the stealing of aid and it being sold at extortionate prices within Gaza. These are all realities that people have talked about, but again, this doesn't seem to matter to the mainstream media who want to demonize Israel. But Israel, on seeing some of the images that have been circulating around the world, some of these images which are children with pre-existing conditions, like their emaciated state has very little to do with the so-called famine in Gaza. It is because they have pre-existing issues that world media have shared. But Israel, hearing, even from its allies, that there are food scarcity issues in Gaza, has decided to do more. It has increased aid. It has allowed airdrops. It is doing more to ensure that this does not turn into some sort of disaster. While at war, while trying to return its hostages, Israel is still trying to ensure that the basic needs of the average Gazan are met. Hamas proudly released a video of an Israeli hostage in an emaciated state, his bones protruding, possibly digging his own grave, or being told he may be digging his own grave. This is what Hamas put out. They weren't ashamed of it. They weren't trying to hide it. They weren't trying to fix this situation of a starving hostage. No, they proudly put this out to traumatize Israelis, to traumatize this hostage's family as emotional manipulation and blackmail. How many hostages were denied medical access? How many hostages did not get their medicines? How many hostages died in Hamas captivity or were murdered? Let's not forget the Bibas children. This is who Hamas is, and shows us who they are time and time and time again, yet for some reason the world refuses to hold them accountable for their behavior. For some reason, the world will not look at Hamas with the absolute disgust it should. It won't put pressure on them and their allies and their patrons to release the hostages and relinquish their arms, to stop putting the people of Gaza and Israelis through this torment of war, to release the hostages. Yet Israel, which sees a situation which could be negatively impacting the people of Gaza, looks to improve the situation. I don't see anybody in Israel sharing pictures of Gazans who may be hungry and celebrating that, or using that as some sort of propaganda tool. Because that's not what Israel does. Since day one, this has been a battle of values. And sadly, the values which we're meant to cherish, freedom, dignity, human liberty, we apparently are abandoning. Why? Because the draw of Jew hatred is more powerful than those values. The hatred of the Jews, the hatred of Israel has become more powerful than the love of freedom and liberty. And that is a serious problem. That is a problem which will long impact us after this war is over, unless we do something about it right now. Just because you repeat a lie over and over again, it does not make it truth. We judge people by their actions, not their words. And Israel's actions have been to alleviate human suffering. Hamas's actions have been to murder, to terrorize, to kidnap, to starve, and to proudly put that on display for the whole world. They never hid what they did on October 7th. They recorded it to show the world. This is who they are, and these are the values that so many people sadly defended. There is a difference between showing care and consideration for the people of Gaza and demonizing Israel. There is a difference between wanting good for the people of Gaza, wanting them to be free from the tyranny of Hamas, and regurgitating Hamas talking points which do nothing to help the people of Gaza but only empower Hamas. And that is a choice you have to make. The truth, or this self-gratifying activism which demonizes Israel, spreads anti-Semitism, and does nothing to help the people of Gaza. But it may get you some social media clicks, and it may build you some clout if that's what you're really after. It's up to us, because we are talking about a war of values, a war of ideas, and a war of good against evil. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent. Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to CUFI.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.